Can you feel it? Can you feel it? That's the power of a dream. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? So you've been searching for what you're bound to be. I capture a vision of your destiny. I know it's gonna turn your whole life around. And you'll be glad you found he's gonna guide you, make everything so fair. And where you wanna go, he will take.
Herbert J. Thompson, husband, father, friend, and most of all, an evangelist in his own right. A country boy, but one who has made us proud. Thank you, Dr. Thompson, for coming. Let's start out with your early years. Tell us about your birth, place of origin, etc.
I was born in Newport, Manchester. Newport is about 4 miles south of the college, and it's a little village that hasn't gotten any better or any bigger. But I was born there, and that's where I went to town.
Okay.
I was born to Robert and Margaret Thompson, both deceased. And I am the last of 11 children from my mother, but ours is a family of 17. My father was very prolific. I went to the Snowden Primary School at the age of 7.
Okay.
Back then we didn't believe in, or they didn't believe in early childhood anything. You stayed home until you were 7. And then you went to school. Had a very interesting attendance record, mostly Monday, Tuesday at school. Didn't go Wednesday, Thursday because we had a farm, a big farm. And my father required that all the boys and girls would work on the farm. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We were Seventh-day Adventists. My father didn't go to church. He was quite critical of the system, but he was a good Adventist. It just didn't work, and it didn't require us to work. At 11, because he was a shopkeeper, he asked me to stay home because I used to do well at shopkeeping. I used to rack like any Chinaman and stock shelves. So after 4 years of part-time attendance at the Snowden Primary School, he required that I should just stop in school because I was a good shopkeeper.
Okay.
So I did that. And for the next 4 years, I kept shop.
So you didn't go to school?
I didn't go to school between the age of 11 and 15 at all. So much so that I lost the ability to write and to just make regular letters. I had a niece named Annette, presently residing in Miami, who taught me, I was about 15, how to make letters like B and Q, and to do arithmetic, and oh yes, seriously. And at that time, when I was about 15, my sister, one of my sisters in England, asked my father whether I could get permission for her to send me back to the Snowden School to do evening classes.
Yeah.
Back then they had external exams, first, second, and third Jamaica local examinations. You started at first. So she asked permission for me to go. And my record of attendance at that was also very, very poor. But I went and took the first year Jamaica local examination and passed it. And then my sister asked further whether I could be allowed to go to high school. My father was not too fascinated with that, but in a manner of speaking, said he would agree. And he agreed, and I came to the West Indies College High School.
At what age?
I was 15, about 15 and a half.
When you started?
When I started high school, yeah. They asked me to do an entrance exam, and I did the entrance exam, and they put me in Form 2.
Okay.
15 and a half. Mm-hmm.
So, those, what, 4 years? 11?
Mm-hmm. 11 to 15.
Yeah, 4 years. Mm-hmm. It affected your writing? And
yes, reading, speak. I was always well-spoken, though, for some strange reason. I used to love to listen to news items on the radio and stuff. There was no TV or anything like that. TV was just coming in about that time in
Okay.
Jamaica. And I was always fascinated by good speech, and I tried, albeit my subject verb connections were not all there, as I came to discover.
Okay.
But I did the best with what I had. Yeah.
So you came, after you left the high school, you
After I
came to
left-
college here?
Yeah, I came here,
Okay.
and I did part-time work at the bakery.
Okay.
And after that, I stopped for 1.5 years to work enough money to start back school again. So I came in Form 2, finished Form 2, did half of Form 3, worked for 1.5 years.
Came back to
I
Form
didn't go back to Form 3 because they said that I had done well enough in the first semester.
Okay.
So I started Form 4 and then on to Form 5.
So even though you had these limitations, you're still a pretty brilliant fellow.
I thought I did pretty well for myself. I was on the honor roll here for all the years that I was here, in high school and up. Yeah.
A shining star
Yeah.
from the rural parts of Jamaica.
Your general education. To you, which aspect of it did you, one, enjoy the most, and did you consider the most formidable?
I was always fascinated by the numerical stuff. I used to do well at high school in the general sciences, for example, and in mathematics. I took a decision when I was in Form 5 to do accounts, since although I wanted to be a scientist, I did some forward planning and saw that there was no money anywhere. So I did accounts. Believe it or not. I spent so much time doing accounts. Those problems were long and laborious, and most times they didn't balance.
Okay.
I took it in GCE and didn't pass it, but I passed all my sciences: mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, and stuff. So I thought the Lord was sending me a message.
Okay.
So I did stick with the sciences, and I remained fascinated by good speech and prose writing and the facts of literature and the Shakespearean lines. I really did like those things. So yes, those things impacted me quite positively.
Okay. Where did this lead you on to?
Well, I did 2 years of junior college here
Okay.
in what was called arts and sciences. That was in those times when at West Indies College, if you were not doing theology and you were not doing business or religion, then you were just an also ran. And what you did, if a science teacher came by, you took as many courses as possible.
Okay.
Because if he's here this year,
He
he might not be here next year. So
Okay.
just take courses. Interestingly enough, I took an associate. It was a diploma back then
Okay.
in arts and sciences. And then one of my teachers, Professor Milton White, came to me and said, look, I know you have plans to go away, or so I thought, because I had no money. I was
Okay.
just following my friends.
Okay.
But they need somebody in the high school to teach the sciences, physics, chemistry, and biology. You think you could do that? And I said, no, I can't do that. I have to leave. Speaking like an ambitious fellow. And he said something to me that I've always remembered. He said, Herbert, while I respect the fact that you're planning to go away, to come back, or so you say, you would do better to serve when they need you. I always remembered that.
Yeah.
And so I stopped and I taught high school for 2 years. And all my friends went ahead because, yeah. And for the first time, we got passes here in physics, for example, in
Okay.
GC. So
At your hand?
Yes. In physics, chemistry, biology, our students started doing very well. And,
So hold on. You stopped for school for 4 years. You could not write properly.
Right.
You could not read properly.
No.
And but you had the ability to speak to some extent,
Yes.
and sheltered and locked away
That's right.
somewhat.
That's a good description.
But you're teaching now,
Yes.
and I understand that you taught your wife.
Oh yes, she. I had a class in Form 5 biology and chemistry that had 5 Paulines, 5 girls, 5 Paulines, and there was a girl in there named Yvette.
Okay.
nice Indian girl. Loved her a lot. and you know, I even committed the sin when I left here years afterwards,
Yes.
and I went to Loma Linda
Yes.
to finish my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
I used to send messages through Avery because she lived across the street from me, because now I had lived with the Dailies down in Waltham.
Okay.
And I used to send her a message to give to Yvette.
Okay.
Years after that, she told me that she was very offended because although she really didn't like me that way, we were good friends.
Yes.
And she couldn't see how I would do that. But I did. You know, I guess I was just an honest person, you know. And, but after that, it happened. You know,
You got married to her.
well, actually, when I finished my master's, came back to Jamaica to teach for 2 years. And by the way, I came here in 1980 for 2 years, which means that I was planning to leave in 1982 because I was accepted in a PhD program in physiology at Loma Linda, so I wanted to go back and finish.
Okay.
Herbert Fletcher, the president of the college, then passed through and asked me to come to help to teach biology, physiology for 2 years, and I came.
Okay.
One day when I was teaching here, I went to Miami, and when I went to the Temple, Seventh Adventist Church, Miami Temple, I saw Mrs. Fletcher, Herbert Fletcher's wife, and she said, Avery's inside you? And I said, she is. Church was dismissed and everything, so I went back in, and I met her coming out the door.
Yeah.
Got one of the tightest hugs you ever saw, and then my nephew was outside waiting for me, and I said to him, you can leave me. And after that, you know, she was living by her aunt's house, and we went for lunch, and from that time on, a couple months after that, I proposed to her.
What?
But I had it all planned, you know. I was in Miami, and I was planning to leave.
Okay.
It was in February, some years ago. And I said, all right, 2 hours before flight time, she's going to drop me at the airport. I'll do it now, and then I'll be gone.
Yes.
I proposed to her. She said yes, but she said, I have to talk to you. I said, well, there's no time, because I have to go. Would you believe that when we went to the airport, the flight was delayed for about 2.5 hours? She said, I guess you can talk, can't you? So we went and parked at some place here in Miami. We to see where people park and watch the planes go off and stuff. And I had to talk about it.
And you were
flew home, yeah. And when I flew home, went to her parents in Waltham, because our parents, again, they lived across the street.
Yes.
From where I grew up. She had already called her mom and said that I had proposed, and she said yes and stuff and stuff. And the excitement started. Engaged her a few months after that, and a year after engagement, we got married.
And, how long after came the kids?
Diane was born in 1984, married in 1983, had planned not to have any kids for a number of years. Well, one is a number. So 83 plus 184, and then Diane was born.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, and then in 1987 came Cambula.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we could move on to your work experience, places of work, etc. after you left college. You said that you came back to West Indies College in 1980.
Yes.
Was that the only environment that you
No.
worked in?
I worked in California at the Los Angeles College of Chiropractic between 1979 and 1980. I
Okay.
taught medical physiology. Chiropractic is the study of bone, nerve, muscle manipulation,
Okay.
where there are some doctors who feel that you don't have to have surgery. They can prescribe you proper dieting and stuff.
Okay.
It's like an
And-
alternative form of medicine.
Or it's fine, and they have something that they call subluxation, where they feel that most anything that happens to you, if you start feeling pain, it is because some nerve is pinched between your vertebrae, and so they can manipulate it. And for some people it works, for other people it didn't. But physiology is physiology, so I just taught there for 1 year. After that,
You
I
came to
came
West
here.
Indies. So coming to Jamaica, West Indies College was
Yes.
the only environment that you worked in.
Outside of that, 1 year in Los Angeles. This was the only
So
place, and this is where I've been working since then.
Okay. Tell us a bit about the positions that you have held since you're back here in Jamaica.
Under the Herbert Fletcher presidency in 1980, I came back here to head biology. Little place in a room down below the chemistry lab. Single room.
One room?
One room. One room.
The department in one room?
That was it. That was it. One little room. And shortly after I came, I solicited some funds and asked the president whether or not I could build a little department of biology. Gave us permission, got some tradesmen from the student body,
Okay.
and some of my brothers from Newport,
Okay.
and some people from elsewhere, and told them up front that they wouldn't get any pay because there was no money. There's no budget for that, but they should come and we would cook dumpling. We cooked vegetarian things on campus.
Okay.
And, we built a little department. It had in 3 or so offices, a reading room. Most of my students from back then will tell you about the famous reading room,
Okay.
in which I put all my personal books and all the other books that I could find, and a laboratory, and a stock room,
Okay.
and then other storage areas. That's basically what happened. That was demolished, or to build the the present science complex. But basically that was what happened. When I was married in 1983, they asked me to be dean of students. That was interesting. And I accepted with some conditions. They disagreed with my conditions, as I recall, when I wrote to the chairman of the board, who was Elder Fraser. They told me that the letter was unacceptable, and all they really needed was the first sentence. So I told them that
What was it about this letter?
I laid out some conditions, some minimum things that I needed in order to be dean of students.
Okay.
If I were going to be successful at it, and apparently the board was not pleased with that at all. So they called me. They sent Pidgery to me, and I agreed to call me one day to come and defend this position that I had taken, because I said, well, And so when I talked with them, I said, well, I consider this to be reasonable. These conditions are quite reasonable. And if I just discarded them and gave you the one sentence that you needed, then it would probably mean that when you're looking for somebody to do a bigger job one day, you wouldn't call me.
Okay. Because you have no substance.
Exactly, and no backbone.
Okay.
How long
And,
was this position?
I was dean of students for 3 years.
Okay.
In 1986, when I left to go to the university. So I retained my position as chairman of biology and chairman of the division of natural science and mathematics also.
While
being dean of students, I was everything. Teacher, chairman of biology, chairman of the division of natural sciences and mathematics, and then and dean of students, and I started studying at the university. 2 nights a week, 3 days up there, and I found time to offer my classes in clusters: genetics, molecular biology, medical physiology, all of them. We did. We had some classes at night. We had some classes in the morning, stuff. And when my experiments started, I worked in dogs in my diabetes research at the university. I had 84 dogs in the animal house. And let me tell you, it was a challenge. Sometimes on Sabbath, I came to be with my family down here for church, and then after that, I had to rush back up to feed them. Because you have to feed them portions of stuff. It's not just, and then drive back. It was quite tiring.
Whoa.
And
That's a whole lot.
Fine. Then I finished the PhD at the university in May 1990.
Okay.
And a little after that, it was a general conference year.
Okay.
They asked me if I would be president, and I said, "You are serious?" Because, to be very frank with you, I was what some people label the radical person. I'm a practical Christian, and I don't think that my style of the interpretation of Christianity necessarily fits into what they do. I've always said that it doesn't mean that because all of us don't meet up in front of the sundial for prayer, we're not praying, and that we don't have an active ministry. And there were still a little twists in the heads of some people that if you did the pastoral ministry, you were the minister, and the others were rabbits at the back of the trend, which I have never accepted. My ministry is as active, as important, and as involved as any other aspect of ministry. And I felt that way then, and I feel that way now. Anyway, they asked me, it was in July.
Okay.
They voted me to be acting president. And the general conference was in Indianapolis.
Yes, I remember.
And fine. And so I went to Indianapolis because several departments here had no teachers and stuff.
Okay.
So immediately they voted me. I went
to the general conference.
fine. And I talked to a number of people. My father-in-law, he was based in Atlanta.
Okay.
Asked him if he thought it was a good idea. And he said, I should talk to Dr. Days, who is my mentor.
Okay.
He sent me to school out in California. And he said, hey, maybe there's something you can do with that school, so take it.
Okay.
So, of course, I was hoping that all of them would have said no. Because earlier in 1990, I had gone to Atlanta.
Okay.
We had started selling out our personal belongings. Avery had already moved to Miami. And we were leaving.
Okay.
I was going to teach in the medical school at Morehouse got the job, and
Okay.
so now I was talking to these people to get their blessing to say, don't do it, and then I would just leave. Well, they said, no, it would be a good idea, and so it messed up my whole plan. And I stayed, and I did it, and I'm glad I did, by the way.
Yes.
I'm glad I did.
Apart from your presidency at that point in time,
Mhm.
and up to now, what are the major accomplishments in terms of awards and appointments that you revere the most?